It's not like you're in the mainland. Just wait there. There we go. You're live too.
Testing. Oh, I love the sound of my own voice.
Wait a sec. I'm going to wind you up. The Wests, of course, are from New Zealand, so I won't tell any jokes about that. But the important thing, and their topic, of course, has been extended, rolling out the national network with Steve, and it will be covered, I'm sure, lots of jokes and anecdotes about what they've learnt in New Zealand. And as Mrs. West said today, profit from our experience, don't make the same mistakes twice. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Wests from ChargeNet.
Okay, I brought some stuff as well. I'm going to hand this around, so just sort of pass them around. They're some of the materials. Oh, sorry, you're holding a drink. Okay, now, my friend Daniel over there has some of our, what's it called, collateral, marketing collateral. We stole a lot of ideas from other people. So we traveled all over the world. To Norway, lots of places, to get ideas of how to make electric vehicle uptake work. And we're going to tell you a little bit about us and a little bit about our story in New Zealand, which I believe is a raging success story. So let's start at the beginning. That's Steve. That's me. This is us a few weeks ago on a whirlwind tour around Europe for work and fun. That's Madrid. Next slide, please, Maestro.
Okay. Well, the next slide is a video, which we've just been recently nominated for an award.
6 awards.
Twice, okay.
6 awards. So we've been nominated for 6 awards at the Sustainable Business Network, and one of them is the Superstar of Sustainability Award, which is kind of like the creme de la creme. And this is the video that they put together for us. It's very sweet. I hope you enjoy it.
Do you want a clacker? Hang on.
We did a road trip. There was no place to charge. We saw the value of electric vehicles, and we knew that people wouldn't buy them if they couldn't drive them.
Somebody had to build a charging network, and if no one else was going to do it, then why not us?
We absolutely want to see New Zealand become energy independent and carbon neutral, and this is, as far as we saw it, the most impactful thing we could possibly do to help encourage that.
You pretty much have to be a philanthropist to build a charging network in New Zealand.
And a little crazy.
Yeah.
As much as we're proud, everything that we've done, and I'm trying not to cry here, has come at a cost. It doesn't just happen, and there's a lot of tears, and there's a lot of tough times. I'm proud that we keep going, because there are days that we don't want to. We love electric vehicles because they're better.
Yeah. Well, we love New Zealand.
And we love New Zealand. Every person that buys a car is making a difference in a huge way. 2,000 kgs of carbon a year per household. I mean, add that up. So keep it up, New Zealand. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, it's been a rough journey, and here is where it all began. I'm gonna let my darling take over, and I will just interject every once in a while for dramatic effect.
Okay, so a very, very brief history of our EV experience. Started back in 2007 when I decided, well, I saw that Tesla had the Roadster they had just released in the US. And I really, really, really wanted one, but they would not sell one to me. They didn't make them in right-hand drive, and they definitely would not ship one to New Zealand. So I was forced to build one instead. So I bought a Toyota MR2 Spider and ripped out the petrol engine and replaced it with about 20 kilowatt hours of lithium phosphate batteries and a DC motor, ran about 100 kilowatts. So went like stink. It was awesome. Loved it. And was just, instantly addicted to EVs and driving on pure, clean electricity. Now, the grid in New Zealand is 80% renewable. So that's mostly hydroelectric, a fair amount of geothermal, a little bit of wind, and a
tiny bit of solar, not very much.
amount of solar. Solar's not super popular in New Zealand, mainly because it's just offsetting generation that's already renewable. So then fast forward a bit until say 2012 when Tesla did actually start selling the Roadster in New Zealand, so I had to get one. Still have it. don't especially love it, mainly because it's broken down, not
It
driving.
has been for months and months.
And broken down and bricked as well. Thanks, Tesla. Awesome.
Anyway, okay, moving right along.
So
we did a road trip. There was no charging.
It was in 2014. I'll speak quicker.
Speed up.
2014, we imported the very first Tesla Model S into New Zealand. That was before they were even on sale here in Australia. And you can see here this fellow on the left, the tall guy there, that's Carl Barlev.
We love Carl.
He moved back to New Zealand from Norway, where he was installing superchargers for Tesla, and brought his left-hand drive Model S with him. And so with 2 Model S's, we were determined to show New Zealand that these cars existed, what they were capable of, that they were awesome. And so we schemed to do a road trip.
Yeah, so it was a PR activity, and it was the birth of the charitable trust called the Better NZ Trust, which does the road trip every year. And it started off quite small, and it's gotten absolutely huge. And we have the support of all of the OEMs, except Tesla and Nissan. But that's okay. Let's move along faster. Okay.
But the point was, we did this road trip, and
there was no place
it was
to charge.
incredibly painful, of course, because there was no public charging infrastructure. And so that was a lesson learned, was that if EVs were ever going to be accepted en masse by the general public, then you had to be able to charge them, you had to be able to get access to charging 24/7, and it had to be powerful.
So that road trip was exactly like Greg's road trip and most of your other road trips, where we had to stop at caravan parks and so on and so forth, and we just kind of went, people aren't going to do this, it's too hard. So
we thought, okay, someone needs to build a public charging network. How difficult is this going to be? Now, New Zealand has one main highway, imaginatively named State Highway 1, runs from the very top of the North Island to the very bottom of the South Island.
Yep.
And it's about 2,000 kilometres long. And if you figure on needing a charging station every 75 kilometres, which you really do if you want to be able to comfortably drive the most affordable EV and between stations, then you need about 75 charging stations along that highway. But that's not really sufficient. We wanted to cover the entire country. So next slide. Oh, you got it? I'll go back. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to cover all the state highways of any significant length, then you need over 100 charging sites. Why is that important? Well, carry on, next slide. AC charging, as everyone I'm sure is aware in this room, is quite affordable and is going to happen in a lot of ways organically.
more organically, yeah.
Because it's quite affordable for any individual or business to chuck a wall charger and but DC charging, of course, is expensive. The chargers are expensive, the power connection is expensive, the civil works are expensive, and so it all adds up to, we see an average cost per site of around 60,000 Kiwi, which is about 55 Aussie. And but you multiply those two numbers together, 124 sites times about 60 grand, and you go, I don't know, $8 million, which isn't much if you say it fast. but is dwarfed, utterly dwarfed by the kind of budgets that governments have for infrastructure. I mean, that
Or referendums that you guys just had. No comment. Okay, anyway.
Long story short, that is, $8 million is of a magnitude that an individual could afford it, and so we were the individuals.
We were
in question, and we're like, what the fuck? Let's do it.
Yeah, don't swear. Anyway, so this is our beautiful country, and really, really fast. So founded April 2015. We've currently got 52 in the ground.
It's right there on the slide. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I was right. Woo, go me. Okay. Anyway, so here's how this works. And this is really interesting. We spend a lot of time trying to convince people of the value of letting us spend $60,000 of our money to put a fast charger on their land.
We try and make it as just a brain-dead no-brainer for
simple
solution. Just all they have to do is provide a car park, and we will take care of everything else.
Yep.
And even then,
people are like, what's the catch?
It will take months or even years to convince a site to host a charger.
Yeah. So that's an ongoing struggle, but it's getting better. People are understanding it. So we are absolutely dead set against not charging for fast charging. We think it is absolutely ridiculous. In our experience, every single one of our peers that started giving away fast charging for free, they have to charge eventually, and the backlash has been phenomenal. We were just in the Cotswolds with Ecotricity, and they got crucified.
Yeah, so there's lots of problems with DC charging.
You start as you mean to carry on, and you charge. So we charge 25 cents per kilowatt and 25 cents per minute. It's a reasonable amount. We're going to stay in the market to ensure that there is no, what are they called, cartels? Like, that's what the petrol people did.
Yeah, so free charging it creates really massive distortions to people's behaviour, as was talked about earlier. People go out of their way to get a free charge. When,
they won't charge at home.
Charging anything at all is a lot better than free.
So, and please listen to this, Australia. Fast charging needs to be built. Okay, so here we are. Our system's awesome. My husband wrote the code.
Yeah, so because we wanted billing right from day one, we needed a back-end system and billing system and customer management system, and we went and looked and there wasn't really anything available in the market, certainly nothing suitable for New Zealand. So coming from a software background, everything looks like a software problem to me, so we're like, okay, well, let's just solve it. So we did, and we got all the usual methods of charger activation, but what's kind of interesting is this latest one, which I've called auto charge on the slide there, but there's a couple of different standards involved, and what it means is, you plug your car in and it just starts charging. And it knows from the vehicle what your account is. And so we're working on it very closely with Tritium, actually.
Yay, Tritium, we love you. Okay, now, this is my slide. Now, collaboration, because we're all fumbling around in the dark, and if we don't work together, we're not going to get anywhere fast. So New Zealand would like to collaborate with Australia.
Here.
Please, yeah. We'd like to come and do some outreach, help you build your community, tell you what to say to your politicians with very, very small sentences and words of less than 2 syllables. And on top of that, we couldn't do what we're doing without these and many, many other. We counted it up and we have 97 unofficial partners. And how many official? Like 20?
Yeah.
20 something?
Yeah, it's just like everything from the facilitating power connections to, and obviously you have to identify transformers that have spare capacity. You need places that will actually host them, and so we're even working with a chain of petrol stations.
Yeah, Z Energy, they are fantastic. They're actually one of my favorites. Jerry's the sustainability manager there. She walked into our office and said, I would like to put an electric vehicle charging station at our petrol station. And I looked at her and I said, are you greenwashing? And it turns out she wasn't. She's actually really cool. So so they're one of our best sort of relationships. Oh, this is great. How many of you know what's going on in New Zealand with the politics and stuff?
Yep.
Okay, we have a guy called Winston Peters, and he's the kingmaker, and he opened this station for us. He was so cool. He was like, what are they? The Rat Pack? He was like this really groovy old sort of guy drinking. Anyway.
So that's almost exactly 2 years ago now.
That's 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago, and we've come an awfully long way.
Yeah. So. In just 2 years, we went from 1 rapid charger to 76 all over the country. Wow. So if you can do the math, you can figure out that we don't own all of those.
No.
There's about 20 chargers out there that have been installed by
other people.
Lines companies, the distributors mainly.
Yes.
And some of those are billing and some of them are not.
Yeah.
And where they're not, obviously that's a problem and it chills the market. It means that we won't install chargers in their footprint, and nor will anyone else. So it seems like a good idea at the first, but in the long run, it prevents a lot more charging infrastructure from being installed. Yeah.
So we can talk to you at length over dinner tonight about that. Anyway, so this is interesting as well. The reason we did this, Steve was in Wellington. That's our capital. That's our Canberra, and he was having a roundtable discussion with the Minister of Energy and Transport. The Minister of Energy and Transport looks at my husband and says, you're never going to get a dime from this administration for anything to do with electric vehicles. And Steve said, okay, I'll just do it myself. And that's literally what happened. And
but fast forward a year or two, and the government suddenly is interested because now EVs are sexy.
Super sexy. It's the goose that laid the golden egg politically because there's no downside. It covers the entire political spectrum. Everybody loves them.
Yeah, everybody loves them. And so the package was announced by the New Zealand government back in May 2016. And most of those incentives are very soft, but the two ones that are quite juicy is the campaign to promote EVs, so that's TV, radio, newspaper advertising.
Yeah, and our charity gets a little bit of that money.
Ride and drive events, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the big one is a $6 million annual fund, which is a co-funding available to projects that will promote EVs.
You're looking at 50 cents on the dollar for projects, so you still have to front up with the other
and it's
money.
contestable, so that means that you're competing against other bidders for that money, so you have to make your project the most appealing.
Really
and
sexy.
they're going to favour projects that would not otherwise be economically sustainable.
And they also like visibility very, very much. So this is more or less a PR exercise, as is everything for government. And it's really quite funny because the same government that was like, oh, we're not going to help you, we're always the first in front of the cameras whenever anything happened and we put in a new station. So it's interesting.
So
Okay.
we've done reasonably well out of that funding.
Fund, yeah.
We've concentrated mainly on tourist routes, and but also in addition to the DC charges, also won a bid for some AC charges. That's quite interesting.
That's exciting. Yeah.
So that's new for us.
Yes.
So far we've really only done the DC stuff, but we also won a few projects to put fill in routes in the South Island.
Yeah.
Which would otherwise not be.
Yeah, they're not viable.
Not viable.
The west coast of the South Island is beautiful, but like really, really, what's that word? Not much there. Sparse. That's a great word. I like that word. Oh, this is good. Okay.
Yeah. So what's the net impact? Well, in New Zealand, EV uptake is skyrocketing.
So more than exponential growth. We're actually going faster than Norway did.
Yeah. So that's the end of 2016. We're nearly at the end of 2017, and we're up to 5,500 EVs on the road.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We are more than doubling.
Yeah, and that comes down to the community.
On an annual basis.
Yes.
Which is going. It's quicker than Norway's growth, but we are a long way behind. If you look carefully, you'll see there's a 50-to-1 difference in scale.
Just a slight scaling difference there, but we are more than exponential.
So, like the slide says, we are where Norway was in 2011.
Yes.
But we're catching
up. We're moving
fast.
faster. And we get to learn from Norway. I absolutely adore the team over there. This is beautiful. So this is
the usage
on our network. So
it's skyrocketing, and we intended the billing to make the network sustainable, and the payback on the machines is, it's many years in most cases, but the busiest of our stations are doing really well.
Return on investment in about 3 years, which is more than half as long as we thought we were going to. We assumed each station would take about 7 years to start returning to us. So again, it was a philanthropic venture. It wasn't based on greed or...
But that's only the very, very busiest stations that are actually making money.
Yeah, and Auckland's dead as a doornail. Anyway,
so where to from here? So we built we're a long way towards completing the minimum viable network, and that's one 50 kilowatt charger per site.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is not providing any level of redundancy, and luckily, the tritium chargers that we've standardised on are incredibly reliable, and because we have so many, we're able to maintain spare parts and maintain them as needed.
Yeah, we have a pretty good uptime.
But obviously, in the future, we want to bolster our sites, add additional charging, and one of the things we're probably going to do is add some lower power charging alongside, because some models of vehicle, like the plug-in hybrids, are not making good use of a 50 kilowatt charger when they're only drawing 18.
Correct.
And similarly, the really old Leafs can't really pull anything like 50 kilowatts, so they might average 30 or even 25, so they might as well be on a 25 kilowatt charger.
Exactly.
Saves
anyway,
us money, saves the customers money.
Yeah, and this really is about the customer experience. It needs to be easy. It needs to be enjoyable. Here we go. This is us in the future.
Yeah, so there's other problems to solve. Demand response, load management. Each brand of charger, they often come with a load management system of their own, but it only works with that particular model. So we're looking at environments where we've got mixtures of DC and AC chargers all being fed from a constrained supply.
Again, we have the advantage of being able to take the case study information from Norway, from the Netherlands, from France, from Iceland, from Canada, from America, and they made tons of mistakes, and so we know what not to do.
And so because we are in control of the software and we sit outside of the hardware, we can then mediate the consumption of all the different technologies that are sitting on a site. Is there another slide?
I don't know.
No, there isn't.
Oh, look at us. I was a bit chubbier there, eh? So this was us. This was us 2 years ago, and and Nick was thinner. Nick found my fat. That's awesome. So that's our COO, Nick. He's absolutely divine and the godfather of one of our children. This is the thing. We couldn't do what we're doing without the community. So we are all very, very tight, and we hang out together on purpose, and we have a common goal. Now, this is the team last Christmas.
Yeah, so this photo is actually out of date. It's almost a year old, so we'll update that.
We will.
This Christmas.
We will, but yeah. So our team's grown quite a bit, and we know that it's going to keep growing. And we want to come to Australia and play with you guys and get the press to pay attention to what's going on here, so that we can do the same thing here as happened over there. So yeah, that's us. Thank you so much for letting us come.